Hello, what is up? So, I've got the 9070 XT back in because I do actually want to have a look at AMD's fluid motion frames because I literally haven't looked at it since I've got the 9070 XT because I said I don't really use frame generation much, but I will in certain scenarios, like so say I'm getting like 55 FPS, I will turn it on. That's what I used to do on the 4080. So it's probably going to be the case in certain very heavy games on the 9070 XT, like when you got a lot of ray tracing on stuff like that, and at higher resolutions like 4K. But to be fair, most of the time I'm finding that it's running pretty well over 60. So we'll have a look at this. So this is what it is, and when it first was released, it weren't looking that great to be honest. AMD fluid motion frames, but apparently it is a lot better now. So I'm going to try that out. So I'm going to try it on. I do actually want to have a look at FSR 4 on this as well. So I was curious because DLSS 4 just looked very very overly sharp, and it had some sort of pixel disocclusion going on. So that'd be interesting. So let's load it up. Uh, Might as well do it from there. This is a good game, but I just found there was a lot of bugs on this when I played the first one. So it's come up available. Let me just make sure. So it's not got active yet, but sometimes it don't do it until you actually go into the gameplay. So that's on. Alright. So those are the same settings I had on the 4090. So obviously I won't be getting as much FPS on the 9070 XT, but it's probably surely get over 60 anyway. Ultra wide, 1440p. Yeah, I mean that's good enough. So 75. I've got the AMD Metrics on because it tells me more things when I'm putting fluid motion. So when I'm putting AMD fluid motion frames on, it will show me the difference in FPS, whereas Afterburner don't. Let's just check my sound. Right, so is that active? Yes, FSR 4 is meant to be on. And right, so first of all, I just want to have a look at the image quality. See if the same thing is happening. So you don't need that on yet. I've got the frame time on the AMD Metrics. There we go. So I look at this on DLSS 4, and this seems stable. Yeah, so it's not happening. So what I've done, I've reset it to the normal sharpness. The game was, because I had to turn it all the way down on DLSS, and then when I come into the game, it looked really blurry. So I just reset it on here to get it back to what it was, and now that's put all that down. Alright, so that's how it was on the 4090. You can go ultra, but I've found it can run it on experimental, and it does make a difference. So you get, I mean, you're getting over 75, and this is where I'd think about you using the AMD fluid motion frames or some sort of frame generation. But yeah, that is definitely looking better than DLSS 4, sort of out of the box, rather than having to fuck about with some settings. I'd say it's cleaner overall anyway, because there was something going on with DLSS 4 where you sort of moving back and forth, but that is a lot more stable. So FSR 4 is looking to be better in this than DLSS 4 if you're looking at stability. because that I didn't like that. I noticed it on, especially in the light. So I changed the time of day so you can actually see it, because it does get dark if you fuck about for too long. But yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. There, some people might. I don't know. I don't think people would like it. All the pixels sort of trying to resolve themselves. But some people may like a softer image or sharper image. I like a sharper image, but not to the point where it's really off-putting. I'm fine. I think I'm finding that a lot of games with DLSS 4, it will be too overly sharp, and where FSR 4 is a lot sort of more user-friendly out of the box, where you don't have to keep. You can just put it on, and it'll look brilliant straight away. So that's probably the main difference I've found. And that definitely looks a lot better than it did on DLSS 4. That. So now we get back to the point of the video. So I'm going to put AMD's fluid motion frames on. You put an anti-lag on with it, so you don't get that input lag. Because that's what happens usually, you get a bit of input lag, so I've got the frame gen lag on. That's 9 milliseconds, which is completely fine. Turn it off. We got, it's not showing me, but I think there is a button. Usually, that's not because I hardly use this fluid motion frame, but that's alright anyway. It's not like it's over 20 or anything. So, yeah, I mean, feels pretty good. There is one thing on this game where you can, so when you're moving that, there is sort of ghosting with a pointer. So so I'm getting 100. Alright, so yeah, so another thing you got to do, I don't know if you can see the adrenaline menu, but you got to put it on high and then quality to get the best image quality. And so it looks better at higher resolutions. So you still get a bit of ghosting with a mouse on this. Now it's raining. Right, so that's one thing I've seen. I need to try another game really. So you get a bit of ghosting with a mouse. That's something I'm not that keen on. So what I'd probably do in this is maybe have a look at Lossless scaling for this game anyway. So you might actually get that in them videos maybe framed in, but this ain't maybe framed in. This is like, it's called frames. But everything else looks alright. It's just when you're moving the cursor here, there's a ghosting sort of effect. I mean, that looks just as good as it did, but when you're looking at the hut, all the straw on the roof. So mate, it's probably going to be could be game dependent. So what I'll do, might have a look at lossless scaling quick. Alright, so we'll put that on. So you should be able to see it. So I'll put the afterburner settings back on. So I'm getting 117 frames. Well, yeah, so the cursor's not running when I'm using the lossless scaling. That's pretty good. I'm quite impressed with this lossless scaling, to be fair. So on this game, I'd recommend just paying like £4 if you want to use frame generation on there. It doesn't look like it's on here. Yeah, so it's not on there. So if you want to boost your frames, that lossless scaling is pretty good. Because I didn't see anything bad on this in terms of image quality.
I could go for something to eat now.
So, I mean, I wouldn't take notice of that AMD thing because that seems to be bugging out. Now I'll put that on. So what we'll do, we'll turn it off in this one. So it's lowered my frame rate, what is it? To 60. Now I'm getting 122. Mouse cursor's not ghosting. Alt and R, bring the menu up. You can still use anti-lag, which will help. It's like NVIDIA's Reflex. So I'll keep that on. So what I want to do now is actually put ×3 on. Alright, so 172. See, that's when I've generally used it in the past, where I'm getting like 60, just over 60 FPS, and I don't want to boost. So what happens here is once you go 3 times, I do start to see a bit of ghosting with the cursor. But it's not as bad as it looked with AMD's fluid motion frames, to be fair. See if you can slightly sort of see it. I don't know if it's just this game where that's happening, but I'd have to try out other games with AMD's fluid motion frames. Anyway, we had enough of that. So we'll have a look at it in another game. I think I'll have a look at shadows. So I'll put FSR 4 on here. So that is on. So you have got frame generation there, but I just want to see what it looks like. And there is one setting, so this is what, so I'll put that on the 4090, and it's even quite demanding on there. But I found it's not massively far away from 4090 performance when you max it all out on there, the 97 XT. So with that setting on, because that knocks about 7 FPS or something off. So it's doing, so you're not really maintaining the 60. Depending on where you go, I mean, this game seems to drop in more populated areas. but it's still playable. I mean, as long as you ain't dipping to like low 40s, really low 40s, and going below 30, you won't feel it. So it drops there. So it's because so the only thing I'd do is usually turn that off, because the Ultra preset, this is custom. I mean, that usually turns off first. So if we, right, not really loading it. So I usually put that on, max all that up. This is what I do on the 4090. Alright, so all that's maxed. Oh, I don't know why that's not changed. I mean, shoes, I'm sure that's the default on it. So once we, it's not like it completely takes you out of the game anyway. So it's pretty good on Ubisoft. So that gets you over 60 once you turn that to the middle one. So I think this is the most heavy setting on the game, where it's doing it literally everywhere. So it is a bit overkill, but it's well, it does it everywhere there. But then it goes to no extra, so it does all that, and it's literally giving you more light in other places. So it's like a double sort of heavy global illumination all over the place. So that's why the AMD GPUs will struggle more than that, and the NVIDIA GPUs like the 4090. I mean, I looked at the 4080 and that was getting, not the 4080, the 5080 was getting like 42 FPS, which weren't great at native. So I don't know, it will be worse than the 4090, and the 4090 I found was getting like 75 FPS to even 68 with that setting on at times, depending on where you go. So I would recommend turning that setting off on the 9020 XT, and then you can max everything else out, and then you get in over 60, and it goes to 70 depending in the lighter areas. So that's what I'd say for shadows. You seem to get a lot more FPS when you go up here than when you go. That happens on both GPUs. But this is where I'd think about putting on AMD fluid motion frames. Even though it has got frame generation in here, but I'm just using it as an example, really. So you put that on. Put the metrics on. So we're getting 120. Again, it's a bit annoying that it's dark. I don't know how you changed down here actually. Do meditate. They change your buttons again on here, so, and I haven't played it enough to know how you change the day, which is a bit annoying. Used to hold down B or something. I don't know. I can see it, it's just a bit, here I can, yeah. Well, I'm not seeing any ghosting when I'm doing that, so that's quite impressive. That could be games where you got that sort of circle in the middle as a name, like first person games where you might see a bit of ghosting. On these third person character games, I can't see an issue with it. And it's definitely a lot better than it was AMD's fluid motion frames. They don't knock your FPS down either, so that's one thing Lossless scaling does. But I think it's just different technique. I think it helps. It's supposed to help more with image visual quality, so it don't sort of float about. But I mean, that seems to be pretty good on here. And these fluid motion frames are a 2.1. This is definitely usable. I mean, I've seen normal frame generation give some ghosting just in the game. Yeah, that looks alright to me. Yeah, that is really good. So I'm not seeing anything bad. Oh, I might have a... So let's put lossless scaling on. See, I think for GPUs that are weaker than say 4090, that's where it can be useful. And if you've got a lot of stutters in games. Oh, so I'm going to put lossless scaling on again. Put 2 times on. For some reason that didn't work. Alright, so let's put my frame rate down to again, that metrics there, might as well turn that off because that can confuse people. Seems to bug out with a lossless scaling. Alright, so let's put my frame rate down to 50. Yeah, I don't think it was working that great on the 4090, this lossless scaling on this game. Again, it could be Ubisoft's engine. I know it will get worse when you go 3 times, 4 times, especially with ghosting. So I think my takeaway is I'd probably just go to 2 times mostly. Because other than that, I usually start to see some shit going on. But it looks alright. So both look alright, although you're getting more FPS on AMD's 2.1. So image quality looks pretty much the same. So I'd recommend AMD's fluid motion frames in that one, on this game. If you want to use it, then you got frame generation on the game, so you wouldn't. So it's just for games really that. I mean, Alan Wake 2. If I had that installed, I probably would have looked at that. So Alan Wake 2, I'd say you can use lossless scaling or AMD fluid motion frames because the overall image quality seems to look a lot better now on AMD because that didn't look too good when it first came out, the AMD fluid motion frames. Don't know why it's come up with that. Nvidia, the Nvidia app seems to detect OBS as a game for some reason. So both of them need to fix that. So I'm going to have a look at Final Fantasy. Yeah, this is because of these mods. So I was getting that on the 4090 as well. This. So what I've found, you got to load it up in here for some reason. Then it don't always work. Alright, here we go. Because I do put mods on, so I think it never crashes once I'm in the game. Alright, so I've got to put that on. Probably gonna have to restart it for this to actually work. The ultra wide. I don't know why they can't natively support it. Alright, I do really love this game though. Just that is the annoying thing. Alright. Alright, thank you very much. So that is my resolution. Alright. Alright, so this is show you here. So we got FSR 4 on using Optiscaler. And again, I'm not really. See, I've had a look at DLSS 4 on here, and the main thing I've noticed is you get some weird white artifacts in some cutscenes and sometimes in gameplay. But apart from that, it looks really good. And I'm not really. If anything, I think on DLSS 4 it's a bit overly sharp at times. But it has got better in recent updates, and on here I just find it's really good with FSR 4. So there's hardly any difference between them at all, to be honest. In this part, I mean the hair quality seems to be overly sharp on Nvidia, but then it's not exactly going to be. I've seen better hair quality in other games. And it gets better at 4K. Alright, so what we got on here? So that's it. This is our native sort of FSR 4 AA. So we're using that. But yeah, I mean it does look really good. FSR 4 on it. So I do think they're just slightly different. That's my take on it. Like, and some people might really like that over sharpened look in certain games. It does become a problem where you can't all the sharpness. So it will depend. Anyway, so we'll look at. So I'm getting. I mean, at native, you don't even need it really, because you're getting like 90 to 100. But for the testing purpose, we will put the third motion frames on. That looks like it is on, but it's not showing you that anyway in this because it don't detect it. So I'll have to put the metrics on for AMD. So we're getting over at 200 FPS. So turn that off. Yeah, and the frame gen lag is, I mean, That's under 10 milliseconds. That's pretty good because you got the anti-lag on. So yeah, I'm not feeling any input delay at all, to be honest. Yeah, so yeah, I can't see a difference in wait a minute, let's so I can't see any, so I want to put it back on and see how it loads up when I'm fighting.
We do this fast.
Yeah, that felt alright. I mean, no different to what it used to be. Or I mean, you do get a lot of stutters sometimes on this game, I've noticed. And that happens on NVIDIA as well. But it seems to be, when you first do your shaders, it stutters a lot, then it smooths out the game. And then it's not much of a problem. But you do get the odd stutter. So maybe this frame generation will smooth it out, because that's another thing I use it for, when you get a lot of stutters in certain games. So you're getting well over 200 frames at another press point. Hang up. Alright. So there's a slight bit of ghosting when you're doing that. But only when, not when you're in real world conditions where you... Yeah, so there's a bit of ghosting. But not when you just playing normally, you don't notice it. So let's turn this off. So I'll put the lossless scaling on. So we're getting 167, 172. That frame time, so the metrics just don't seem to work. I'll put that on. And this don't give you the total FPS. I've got the NVIDIA anti-lag on, so I'm getting almost 200. Yeah, so there's no ghosting on that. So maybe it's sort of, maybe the lossless scaling sort of lowers your frame rate. It's doing something to. So it is a lot better, these fluid motion frames. I mean, most people probably wouldn't notice it if they just put it on. But there is, it seems to be when you, if there's a game like Kingdom Come, where you're looking at an aim cursor, it will have some ghosting, and when you're panning the camera. But then Lossless scaling had that when you're panning the camera 4 times in a Yakuza, I think it was. But I'll be honest, it is definitely usable. That felt very smooth. I'd say it's very close. I mean, just save that. Turn it off. I think they're both very usable. It might be quite subjective because this will lower the frame rate of it, then give you the extra fake frame sort of thing. AMD's fluid motion frames just seems to put it on, but then it can cause a bit more ghosting, I think. So, and with the cursor, this will depend on how far you want to go with it, to where it causes some like sort of ghosting with a aim cursor. I think that's the same with Nvidia's, to be fair. So if you go there free, it can cause some artifacts. But in games like third-person games, I think you will probably notice it less. So they're both good in their own way, to be honest. I mean, this is a lot better than it was AMD's fluid motion frames, because that used to be pretty bad when it came out. But now I'm not seeing any sort of weird artifacts in gameplay. The main thing is when I'm panning the camera and you're seeing some ghosting. So that's the main thing. And maybe in Cyberpunk, I'd still say if generation is in the game implemented, it's going to look better. But this is good when you haven't got frame generation in the game. I'm quite impressed with this, to be honest, Lossless scaling. I think it probably edges it in terms of less ghosting for this. So for the price I paid for this, I think I'm pretty happy with that. It is pretty good. And that has massively improved AMD's fluid motion frames. This is another thing. So if you find this come up with 2, make sure you remove the one that doesn't say FSR 4. Otherwise you won't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove that, because it can duplicate, and I've noticed that on Nvidia's app as well. It will give you 2 of the same game. But on here I know what one I need to delete, so I don't need that in here. So that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.